I'm not really sure where even to begin with this game, but I've got about a minute to introduce you to it, so here's my best shot. In 2012, Camouflage kickstarted a, quote, console-quality game for mobile, end quote, and released it episodically between 2013 and 2016, and eventually ported it to PC and PS4. The game is basically a stealth game, and I put some emphasis on the word basically, but honestly the gameplay isn't really important. What's important here is that this game is dripping in production values and lore and backstory, and it's fascinating, and I love it, and I'm going to show it to you. I've also got to give it a nod for having a pretty good PC port. It's got all the sliders and options you'd expect a good PC port to have. You can run it at a nice high resolution and use a modern graphics card to demolish the frame rate. What this port does not have is the option to rebind any keys at all, and that kind of sucks. I mean, this is a fine control scheme, I like it, but it's a sore point for a lot of people, and frankly I don't blame them for that. Honestly though, all of this game's biggest problems are in the actual playable part, which sounds like a frankly astonishing thing to say about a video game that I love so much, but maybe by the time we're through with this you'll have a better idea of what I mean by that. Anyway, let's go.
See me? Wait. Please, I need your help. I don't have much time. They want to erase me. They want to erase who I am. They're coming.
Actually, I know exactly where to start. Have you ever played Watch Dogs?
Who defaced the pages of this manifesto? This is a disaster. This is poison. Who fed you this poison? It was the librarian, wasn't it? That snake. How did nobody see these being distributed? Cooper, get us some water. Sovereign water from the commissary. Go! Where is it? Not the defaced manifesto. Where is it? Tell me, or I'll tell them.
But you are them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Child, where is it?
Where's what?
I did not call for Prizrak.
Our computer scrubbed the word poison. I have to check it out.
It's not like that, Derringer. I can handle this precal myself.
Look, I need to know if someone's poisoning the food and water supply in this place.
I am talking about this, you idiot. Poison for the mind.
It's just a manifesto.
Not just. It's been contaminated. These are the words of Zager.
Zager is dead. But I guess we could dig him up and shoot him again. Anything else, Murray?
What? That's not enough?
The girl's infected. Found reading contraband. Third offense. We are taking her
I
to
didn't read anything.
I am in charge, Derringer. You will put her in a confinement cell. There will be no recalibration without my authority.
Fine. Just do it before the arrival. And watch your step.
What's your step?
You ever shut up?
I'm gonna try and make a point of not interrupting cutscenes too often, but You can interrupt cutscenes just like regular gameplay, and you can look around and scan things and people. Scanning a person lets you read their passport, which usually is just flavour, but for important characters under aliases you can find their voice actor, which is, well, that's cute, I guess. Mireille here is voiced by Jennifer Hale, which I wouldn't have guessed. I guess that's why they call it acting. And then there's this guy. None of this guy's aliases are voice actors. Anyway, we should probably remember this guy. He's probably going to be important. Something else you can do is hop between cameras, like this one, which is in a speaker for some reason. I don't know why this is here. It's pretty pointless. Anyway, as you were.
Bring her a blanket. I don't want her freezing to death before tomorrow. Hurry up!
Good evening, citizens of Metamorphosis. As we make our final preparations, we must be extra vigilant. Recent events have brought us the capture and killing of a man whose sinister, disgusting actions caused no small amount of grief. You know who I am referring to. I will not speak his name again. But even though he has been eliminated, other threats remain. Just tonight, another treasonist was attempting to infect the minds of our youngest and brightest with lies, masquerading as divine text. This Mimeo apostate will be dealt with in the same manner as the one who inspired him. Keep a watchful eye out for our Republic, my friends. And in return, she will watch over you.
You're still here. You have to help me. They're going to hurt me. Recalibrate me. She's probably watching me now. They say I'm infected, contaminated for reading something I wasn't supposed to. Can you help me somehow? Can you help me get out of here? The cameras. Can you see me? You can see me in there. Yeah. What's the difference? There's no way you can help me from there. You're just another pair of eyes watching me. Did you do that? Did you open the door? I don't know who you are or how you're doing this, but somehow you found a way into this place. Can you help me find a way out?
And so we arrive at gameplay.
Okay, let's go.
You could somewhat uncharitably describe République as a point-and-click stealth game, with maybe the tiniest bit of Metroidvania mixed in, as you might have seen just then. But yeah, the bulk of what we'll be doing is hopping between cameras, hacking things, and clicking on where we want Hope to go. There are a couple of other things that we can... Oh, hang on a minute, I've got to take this.
Hello. Please do not be alarmed by the sound of my voice. My name's Cooper. I am communicating with you in text-to-speech because it is too risky for me to use my real voice. I am the one who found the phone in the girl's room just a moment ago. I've returned the phone to her because she is in danger and I wish to help her. It seems you wish to help her too. I do not presume that you are as technically inclined as I am. So I will skip the occupational lingo and get directly to the point. The phone she's carrying is a link, giving you access to our facility's online network. It is called OmniView. By entering OmniView, you can easily move from one camera to another. To keep the girl out of sight, you'll need to scout ahead for her. The rest I'll explain as you go. Good luck. I'm sure you can hack it in this place. That was a joke, by the way. Sometimes my humor gets lost in translation.
Well, I guess we've met our first friend down here. Cooper's laid the main gameplay loop out pretty plainly for us, but in case it wasn't plain enough...
A good reminder. Use the cameras to see what's in the next room.
Speaking of using the cameras to see, the game is already throwing a lot of optional stuff at us, like this locked door. But we can hack the camera, and we can see what's inside it. Which, in this case, is a locked box, which we can unlock in advance. I guess that's nice. And straight away, we've got secrets within secrets. There's another locked room. Hope will never get in here, but we can. There's not a whole lot to it really. There's this guy, he's just like a guy. Hope's never gonna meet him, we're never gonna learn anything about him. There's also our first instance of law.
Arrival proceeds as planned. We will not be swayed by cowardly acts of terror. Stricter punishments for traitors urged. I heard the powers that be are secretly hoping for some kind of an attack to justify all these new security measures. And while they would prefer it to be bloodless, I suspect they'll take anything. Perhaps they'll even carry it out themselves to ensure it happens before the arrival.
I don't think the idea of collectible newspaper articles with accompanying in-universe commentary really requires a lot of comment from me, but what I will give the game props for is that instead of filling the whole thing out with paragraphs of lorem ipsum, they have actually gone and written a full fold's worth of copy for this article for this fake newspaper in this game, and that rules, frankly. Anyway, that goes in our collection, and we are done with this room. I guess this is the point in the video where I start going through some of these buttons. We've got a quick inventory, there's not much to it for now. We've also got a slow inventory, which for now only contains our passport and confirms that yes, Hope is voiced by Rena Strober. We've got the data panel, which will remind you how much this game hates you if you're a completionist. We've got the Find Hope button, which is a lovely metaphor, but actually all it does is automatically jumps you to the camera that's closest to Hope. And we've got a map. I love the map in this game. It's very utilitarian, it's very readable, it tells you everything you need to know. But really, the absolute best thing about the map in this game is that when you exit it, it it will spin around and align itself with your perspective, which rules. Every game that has a map should do that. It's extremely helpful when you're trying to navigate.
Sanchez,
Yes, madame.
don't forget to give her the sodium thiopental injection.
Yes, madame.
If you keep current with pop psychopharmacology, you'll know that the sodium thiopental is truth serum. If you're up with actual psychopharmacology, you'll know that the truth of that is up for debate. Anyway, here's a guard. All the guards have passports, and they're all named after Kickstarter backers, who all got to submit aliases and medical history and charges for themselves, so that's nice. You can also see his inventory. He's carrying something. We'll get to sneaking past him in a bit, but first let's look around his room.
Looks like one of my colleagues has left a pin code sitting out for everyone to see. I long for the days when basic common sense was a prerequisite for gainful employment.
I'm honestly a little surprised that this isn't 0451. This just seems like the kind of game that would do that. Anyway, the other main attractions in this room include another level 5 door that we can't open, and this answering machine, which has a grayed out icon that we can't hack, figuratively or literally, so I guess we'll have to come back to that. Speaking of coming back to things, we can unlock that door and actually go in there and finally open that box. And our prize is...
This is P0 brand pepper spray. You can equip this for the girl in the bottom left corner of your screen. Each canister contains a single shot. It will temporarily disable guards, but be careful. Before long, they'll be back on patrol and angrier than ever.
P0.
A classic self-defense weapon. Again, Cooper pretty much laid it all out for us. We have a nice little quick menu that kind of spoils all the weapons that we'll eventually get, so I hope you weren't paying too much attention to that. Anyway, let's actually deal with this guard. In the grand tradition of stealth games, the correct way to deal with guards is always to sneak past them, but not before pickpocketing them.
I see you have discovered one of my floppy disks. As a hardcore gamer, I collect many video games. Sadly, my fellow Prizrak torment me by stealing my prized collection. Can you assist the girl in recovering my lost floppy disks? It is not like you have a more important job to do.
So yeah, our voice on the phone is a massive nerd and his lost video game collection is our primary achievement bait. Totally unrelated.
I once spent some time stuffed in a locker. This may surprise you, but I wasn't very popular in high school.
Good to know. I mean, seriously, that's good to know. That's helpful gameplay advice. Anyway, let's duck behind a corner and examine our video game.
As a certified Kickstarter addict, my humble key recenter is filled with enough side-scrolling chiptune games to fill a lifetime's worth of the Reagan era. Shovel Knight is one of the good ones though, an 8-bit homage that marries old-school platforming with cutting-edge game design. I cry a little tear whenever I lose my hard-earned gold after a clumsy mistake, and I love it. If 2014 had a baby with 1989, she'd look a whole lot like Shovel Knight.
I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I mean, okay, I fucking love this, but I can see how filling your video game with commentary on other video games might maybe rile a couple of people. I don't know. Anyway, Republic is not a briskly paced game, and that's only half because it's a stealth game. It's also because we're going to be spending a lot of time looking at things, reading emails, listening to phone calls, and, yes, hearing Cooper tell us about his favourite video games. There's a can of pepper spray sitting right there, but I'm going to ignore it for reasons that are entirely planning.
Recently, The children in Metamorphosis have become more brazen in their attempts to take things from the Prizrak. Surely, this was Zager's influence.
If you keep an eye out and always be pickpocketing, you will basically always be at full capacity of everything you could ever need.
Got him. Zager killed in firefight with Prizrak. The depravity of this man was boundless. Best to remove the comments section for the online edition, and change "shot dead by Prizrak" to "killed in firefight by Prizrak." This way it suggests he was given a sporting chance. When the surveillance video of this day surfaces, and it will, it's going to require major surgery if they want it to look like justice.
In case it wasn't apparent enough, République is set in a hella totalitarian state. The developers have openly cited 1984 as an influence for the design of, well, this entire game. And it shows. It's an old cliche, really, but they run with it and they make it work, and it really goes to show that most of the appeal of these things is in the execution rather than the sheer originality. Anyway, in the spirit of completionism, we are going to pickpocket every guard. Every guard carries one video game, and many of them carry other useful items like pepper spray and, well, we'll get to that.
Last month, a pre-kill got their hands on a canister of pepper spray. They blinded a loyalist Prizrak during routine inspection.
Case in point, really. Anyway, to chump this guy, we're gonna need to use the lockers. If you pay attention during Hacker View, you'll see that there's green lockers and purple lockers. Green lockers contain stuff,
A Zager cassette.
and purple lockers are for hiding. Guards possess some rudimentary intelligence, but they are not smart.
This looks like an old cassette tape. You may find this difficult to believe, but I am actually old enough to remember when these were popular. I remember seeing an old boombox when we ransacked one of Zager's hideouts. However, with the facility's new censorship system coming online, I suspect most of this Zager end will be suppressed. The man enjoyed his salty language, to put it mildly.
Being detected by a guard is almost 100% a matter of sight lines. For the most part, they're completely deaf. There is one specific thing that we can do that they will hear, but yeah, if they don't see you getting into a locker, they're never gonna find you there. That box looks very inviting, but alas, not yet. Instead, let's hear some more about video games.
Few games make us think about the stories and secrets we all keep hidden from others. Gone Home is a beautiful game, one I found myself ruminating on long after its credits. I found myself thinking on the Overseer's manifesto and his crusade for a more idyllic society. Our relationship with technology provides order and control. Yet, even in a place like this, there are things even cameras can't see.
I guess it's a sign of how far video games have come that when I first played Gone Home I found it groundbreaking, and today when we have games like Firewatch and everybody's gone to the rapture, I find it kind of dull. But it broke new ground and I love it for that. There you saw me get wrong-footed by the game's menu controls. Escape, tab and space all do different things and are required at different points to get out of different menus, and if you press the wrong one, you are having your experience disrupted, and it's very annoying. Camouflage gets a demerit for that. If you just run ahead, you'll probably miss these two posters.
The paranoia is warranted in this case. A pre-cal once found the key to the armory and stole a dozen tasers. It took 7 Prizrak to finally bring him down.
The tasers are what was in that box, by the way. We'll be coming back for them.
Despite being obnoxious, this poster makes a valid point. The girl is less likely to attract attention if she walks softly.
This was the thing I hinted at earlier. You can hold shift while clicking on a place and hope will run instead of walking. It's faster, but it will attract guards' attention. It's the only unscripted thing that guards can hear. This room is the first environment in the game that's more complicated than just a corridor. It's divided into two halves, it's got two guards, and there's a lot of stuff that we can sneak around. Here's our first guard, he's just got a game. To see the other half of the room, shown on the map, kind of, we have to finagle the cameras a bit. It's honestly a little annoying, and it's one of this game's biggest problems, is that there are entire places that you might just never see if you're not paying real careful attention to the cameras. Anyway, here it is. Notice as well that the further away we go from Hope, the more our signal degrades. You can see we have a signal bar in the top right. Also, there's a book here. We're going to have to go over there and get that manually. You'd think this place would have ebooks.
This may come in handy.
The girl has found one of the banned books. The Overseer has banned many books inside of Metamorphosis. As the poor librarian upstairs once said, it is better to ban a book than to burn it. Talk about taking lemons and making lemonade. I wonder if there are more books like this one lying around.
If you thought video games weren't enough, we've also got literal literature to cogitate on. So that's nice, and that's another collectible. The two reasons we want to bother with actually walking Hope over here are for that book, and also to pickpocket the guard over here. Note Hope's little peeking animation here. Again, one of this game's production value signs is that Hope has a actually astonishingly large range of contextual actions for a point-and-click stealth game. We'll see a couple of them.
I'll check his pockets.
Several of them are actually very mechanically useful. Of course, there are items of interest over here other than Mr. the Big Shell incident.
A fingerprint scan. It would be terrible if this got into the wrong hands. They would have a lot of power at their fingertips. Hint, hint.
That's no lore. This is actually useful. It'll be a while before we find out what for, though. Anyway, there's another phone over here, and also some computers that we can't do anything with yet. We'll be getting to that real soon, though.
What the?
Here we got seen. Just barely. So the guard's gonna come over and investigate, but he's not very smart, so he'll give up real fast.
I'll find you.
No, you won't. Not only because you're incredibly dumb, but also because we have the perfect place to hide, which we'll get to in just a minute after we grab one more bit of intel from this room. As you can see, most of the valuables here are in computers. But there's one thing we can grab.
The Prizrak waged their campaign against Zager from this very room. The following conversation was recorded 2 months ago.
Listen, Prizrak, calling the man a menace doesn't give him the credit he deserves. Put another team on scrubbing through the footage.
I will, sir. Though so far the camera network hasn't been terribly effective.
Zager's a human being, not some phantom. He casts a shadow like the rest of us. And I'm giving you more than you should need to find him. Now, should that prove too difficult for you?
No, sir. I understand. Watch your step.
It's pretty apparent that this Zager guy has been a thorn in the side of the establishment for a long time. There were some other things of interest on that wall, but most of them are things that will be addressed in a lot more detail later, so let's ignore them. Note the little square room off to our right. These rooms are vitally important, and there's a lot of them throughout the map. Remember I said there was a perfect place to hide? Well, it's prison. I think they're canonically called confinement rooms, but there's lots of very important things in here. For example, there's a phone charger.
This is a battery charging station. Certain Omni abilities will drain the battery on the girl's phone. You'll see her battery life displayed in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Direct the girl to any recharging station to juice up.
managing our battery levels is going to be pretty important.
Collected contraband is up by 47% in recent months. For a secure location, you would be surprised by what we find in their pockets.
The second important thing about confinement rooms is that they often have stuff for us to pick up, even if...
Carry anymore.
Yeah. The reason we're here, though, is this guy.
Welcome to my domain.
Hey there, you just found a data broker terminal. These are located throughout the facility. Any data you collect by scanning items in OmniView can be traded to the data broker in exchange for new Omni abilities. Omni abilities are valuable tools for gathering information and assuming control of the girl's environment.
As you can see here, the data broker buys all of our random intel off of us, and gives us money that we can use to buy, well...
What would you like?
Other stuff. There are a couple of different abilities, they're all pretty good, but two of them stand out as things that you must buy first.
Free email exchanges.
That's because you're gonna need them to get money.
Leaving so soon.
Oh, don't worry, we'll be back real soon. So yeah, as you are probably starting to figure out by this point, our two mandatory abilities are reading emails and listening to voicemails. These things cost money, but they will also make us enormously more money in the short, medium and long terms, so they are basically mandatory. They're also going to be the cause of just a little bit of backtracking in this section, but this is the only time the game is going to make us do this specific kind of backtracking. There'll be other kinds.
Not surprisingly, the Persrak who wrote this is no longer with us.
Well, now I guess we know what that fingerprint's for.
The security checkpoints in this facility are always evolving. Yesterday, PIN codes were all the rage. Today, it's fingerprint and iris scans. Tomorrow, it will be blood.
Security is weird and kind of creepy at times. Who knew?
It seems the librarian has been flagged for suspicion of distributing the poisoned manifestos. I hope the girl finds him before Derringer does.
This is the first time we've gotten to put a face to the librarian, or a name for that matter. He seems like he might be okay, in contrast with everybody else, wherever the hell this is.
This email was sent more than a month ago. The precal in question, 933W, is still at large.
933W is also one of the names that was seen on the intel board that I commented on earlier. It seems like the security guys here are having a lot of problems.
We have observed you spending a great deal of time in the library recently. Perhaps I should ask the librarian about these indiscretions. Did he give you the poisoned manifesto? If not him, child, then who? Speak! I have been put here to shepherd you. But you must accept that help, or we will both face the consequences.
For some reason I've always presumed that this interrogation was of 933W, but I guess it could have just as easily have been Hope. Anyway, let's go and sell all of these emails.
my domain. Care to purchase new abilities? Listen in on voicemail messages. Sorry to see you go.
There's just about enough intel here to get one of these abilities, which will get you just about enough to get the other.
Gentlemen, I am not going to explain this to you again. Mireille Prideaux can hem and haw all she wants, but that is not in charge of security. I am. You transfer copies of the children's fingerprints to my secure server, or you can consider yourself reassigned to the graveyard shift.
Derringer seems like a nice, well-adjusted, likeable individual. Now just bear with me while I struggle with the cameras to get back over to the other side of this room. There we go. Remember this one?
This is Quinn Derringer. We've had another instance of someone screwing with the generator over at the power station. I ordered that fingerprint reader installed a week ago. I want it done today. Is that understood? Call me back when you get this. And I suggest you give me the news I want to hear.
That's basically a repeat of what was in the email. I guess they couldn't guarantee that every player would buy both of the eavesdropping abilities, so they had to ensure that everybody who only bought one would still be able to find out what the fingerprints were for. Fair enough, I guess. Anyway, you may remember, way back at the first guard station we snuck past, that there was an answering machine. So we're going to do a tiny little backtrack. Hope, what are you... Sure, whatever. I'm never completely sure what exactly determines when the guards are able to see you and which of Hope's context animations affect her hitbox, I guess. I'm not really sure what's the correct technical term for this in the stealth game, but I think you all know what I mean. Anyway, the stealth in this game is... it's there. I mean, it's no Metal Gear, but it's functional, and it's not frustrating. And even when it does break, it's usually relatively trivial to break back from. So it doesn't bug me too much. This game has worse problems than its stealth.
Station 17, this is Madame Prideaux. Concerning that precal I had interned, 390H, I require more time with this subject prior to her dissection. However, I feel Derringer is bent on challenging my judgment. And after what happened with 933W, I feel compelled to remind you, all children are under my authority. If he attempts to interfere, you will locate me immediately.
Everybody knows that any good totalitarian setting absolutely must have a government that is constantly at war with itself. And République delivers on that front. We've got Mireille, who's obviously got authority over the children and seems to care about them to some extent. And we've got Derringer, who basically just seems to be a dick to everybody. We've got the librarian, who obviously is in a position of some authority, but also seems to be fairly transparently facilitating dissent. And then we've got the headmaster, or the overseer as everyone calls him. We're not really sure entirely what his deal is yet, but somehow I get the impression that it's not going to be good. Anyway, after all that, we still haven't pickpocketed this guy yet, so let's get on that. He also happens to be right in our path. You know, remember we were going towards an objective before all this backtracking? So we're gonna need to deal with him. Fortunately, his patrol is not exactly a puzzle. He just walks in and out of the cubicle area. We can walk right up, we grab his video game, and just walk right out the door. Anyway, let's take a look at our ill-gotten gains.
Put this in the box with leaves of grass. He and Whitman deserve each other. He would teach our innocents to dance and carouse. Seduction and the majesty of a man's body befit such a vagrant as Zorba. But they don't belong here, where we give people their best home. This is a blueprint for destroying one's life. Are we not here to give people happiness? They cannot be taught suicide.
Whereas video games give us Cooper telling us how much he loves them, books get the headmaster telling us why he wants them banned from his perfect totalitarian society. Spoilers, it's almost always because he is an enormous hypocrite and he's scared of his citizens learning too much.
This game began as a Kickstarter project. After many delays, the game was actually released. Star Command is a starship management simulator, and it's fascinating. It's also very challenging, as you spend your time taking on the evil Enter-Ians. But to be honest, I think the Kickstarter drama leading up to its release was just as exciting.
I can't find very much about that. Maybe you just had to be there.
This is one of the best games I own. Well, used to own. The graphics are beautiful, and the music is wonderful. And the writing is pretty funny. I like Logfella. He doesn't talk much. Like me.
Sword and Sorcery is a weird game, and I kind of love it, but I also don't want to ever play it again, mostly because of one really obtuse puzzle. I did very much appreciate how it started you out with 5 hit points, and as the plot progressed you actually lost them. That was cool. More games should do stuff like that.
Do you see the door there? That's where I have to go. If I can get to the library, I can find the librarian. He can protect me.
Even during cutscenes, we will always scan guards. These guys don't have anything in their inventory, which is pretty much a dead giveaway for the fact that we will only be seeing them in cutscenes. Do remember these guys' names though if you're one of those people who loves attention to detail in games.
Hey, Clark, you can sleep when you're dead. Come on, Derringer wants us to lock up the atrium.
I had a dream I won the lottery.
Yeah? What was the jackpot?
10,000.
You gotta dream bigger than that if you want to buy your way out of here.
Now's our chance. Let's go through this door. Can you hack the door?
Well, of course. What do you take me? Oh.
Why can't you open it?
Hello. It is Cooper again. You cannot open that door with your current version of the OmniView software. You will need to update your software at a daemon server. Upgrade to version 1.0 and you can open this door. Then, you can get the girl to the library. The nearest demon is in the commissary on the other side of the dorms. I will add this waypoint to your map. Proceed with caution.
It seems like you have a plan. What do we need to do?
It's a fetch quest, because of course it is. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, how does it sound? Dear Mr. Derringer, after mentioning this to you in passing, I wanted to send you this letter reminding you of my sincere desire for advancement. I believe I have a lot to offer, and in my current position, I will not be able to demonstrate my true potential. Plus, it's boring. Whenever you have time, I would love the opportunity to discuss my moving to the day shift at greater length. Sincerely, yada yada yada. How's that?
Well, I guess now we know why they call this guy KC the Dreamer. Who am I kidding? Derringer will love it. He's always seemed reasonable, right? Anyway, there's one other piece of intel to grab in this atrium, and it's kind of an enormous pain, because there's only one camera that you can view it from, and that camera can only be reached from one other camera, and I have never been able to really remember where that camera is. So bear with me here. Oh, I know where it is. It's that camera, then that camera, and then that camera. Yeah, that's not irritating at all.
There is an ideal we all live by. A pillar upon which all our collective hopes and aspirations are stacked, extending upwards towards a glorious future. We create symbols to give these ideals power, to remind us to look up, to look forward. Today I give you that symbol with an expectation of the greatness it will inspire. We must remain open to all things, while still vigilant against the corruptive forces working around us. Let this symbol be our beacon through the long night, and let it stand as a testimonial once we reach the light of the sun.
What? Well, that was the last thing we needed from here. So I guess all that's left to do is to align our viewpoint correctly, and then book it into the dorms. That concludes this game's tutorial. Yeah,